And I started to just have a relationship with this seduction spirit. Now, with the relationship, I mean because that spirit would make you feel safe. She would make you feel like you can tell her anything. You can show her anything, that as long as you continue to please yourself to her, you can do whatever you want to this spirit through your mind. Hey y'all, so my name is Joshua, and pretty much, as you guys know, this is Lighthouse Ministries, and if it's your first time here, welcome. We deal with a lot of deliverance ministries, and we share a lot of our personal deliverances that God have led us through, different attacks that we have been through, different spirits that we have battled, different things that the Lord have did for us, so you guys can be encouraged that He will do the same for you. And today's deliverance and the story that I wanted to share with you guys is personal. And me and my wife have been on this journey of telling our past and our history and the things that we have been through. So make sure you guys check out her video as well. I know she has some crazy stuff that's very personal with her. I'll make sure she leave a link in the comments so you guys can check out all of our personal testimonies that we have been, well, deliverances that we have been through. But today, you guys, I'm talking about the spirit of seduction. And I know you guys see me talk about this a lot. And it's one of those things that I talk about it a lot. I talk about it a lot because it's something that have been with me since I was a child. And I know a lot of you men and women can testify to this spirit. And at first I didn't even know it was a spirit until, you know, Christ revealed it to me. So I wanted to take you guys all the way back to where this spirit first came in my life. Because in order for you to get deliverance, you have to go back and close the door that was open to you, okay? So I was living with my mother. Of course, I was around like 7, 8 years old. And I had an older brother that was living there. I have multiple brothers. My mom had 9 children, and one of my brothers had this spirit connected to him as well. And so you guys are going to hear me talk about him a lot. May he rest in peace now. But he was the very first person to introduce me to this spirit. Now, what he did is that he would always go to the corner store around the corner. It was like a gas station. I don't know if you guys remember or not, but back in the day, gas stations used to sell, like, you know, magazines, corn magazines. And so you used to be able to go to the gas station, and you can steal them, you can buy them, whatever you had to do. So I would come home and he would have all of these magazines of these girls, and he would always bribe me with magazines and like, oh, if you do this, or if you go to the store for me, and I'll give you this picture out of the magazine, or I'll give you that magazine. And so I started to see women for the first time through those magazines before I even knew how to even pleasure myself. I used to sit there at night and daydream about being with the girls I would see in the magazine. Whole lifestyle would be formed off of just sitting there looking at these magazines. And it was so many different magazines that I would have. And then he would have pictures in his phone. He would have all these different things. Like, he had like a treasure chest stash of like different girls' panties. I don't know how he got them, don't ask me. That he would have these magazines, and he'll have condoms and all of these different things. And to my young mind at that time, I was already a child that was very rejected, because when I was 3, I was in a house fire. And I'll get into that story probably another day. But so it left me with marks right here, very visible marks on my arm, very visible marks all over my legs. And I know you probably can't see it right now, but as a child, it was very visible. And children don't understand when children have these type of problems. So I was always the weird one. They'll ask me, "Whoa, what happened to you? Oh, what happened to you?" I got this big visible one on the back of my head. Can't really see it now because I grow my hair as much as it can grow. But I was dealing with this spirit at this time of rejection, and it was kind of like I couldn't get a win. I couldn't get a win at all dealing with this spirit of rejection. So I couldn't get friends. I couldn't get girlfriends. I couldn't get anything like that. So my whole reality was in my mind. It was always in my head. And I used to walk around with headphones in and just watch porn all day long, ever since it was introduced to me as a child. And that's when I very first started to please myself around 9 or 10. I remember I started going down that road, pleasing myself and watching, these magazines and this porn. And that is when I started to just have a relationship with this seduction spirit. Now, with the relationship, I mean, because that spirit would make you feel safe. She would make you feel like you can tell her anything. You can show her anything, that as long as you continue to please yourself to her, you can do whatever you want to this spirit through your mind. So it just made you feel comfort, it made you feel secure. And so what will happen is that you will just come home from school and you will feel this lustful urge all day in school. And you just feel like, I need to get this out. So you imagine all of these different women in your mind. Girls that you have seen before, girls that you haven't seen before. And they will keep coming to your mind over and over and over until you please yourself to what you're thinking about. So it'd be so many times where I would go straight home and go straight to my room, please myself to whatever it was that I was thinking about. And unknowingly to me at that time it is a spirit of seduction. Been around since I was a young child. And I don't want you guys to think that this is okay. And I know that if you've watched this video, you already know that this is not okay. So years go by, I become a teenager, and it was getting worse. It started to give me lust to strange things. I would look at just different like orgies, like people, like 8 people at once, or just really strange things. I can't get into detail about how dark it started to get, but see, with this spirit, it wants to continue to pull you deeper into your freakiness, to the flesh. It don't want you to stay in the same grounds of just, the little magazine pictures. It wants you to come deeper and deeper and deeper. It got to the point where I'm still a virgin at that time, but I knew every detail about sex, every last detail. I knew how it felt, I knew how it smelled, I knew every detail because of years of just every night meditating with this spirit. And it got to the point where you will see this spirit in your dreams. You can almost speak to this spirit. You can feel her presence when she's around you, and it's this promiscuous feeling. She gives you comfort about your appearance, and it just holds you in a different way, and you just keep committing the same sin over and over with this spirit. So back to when I was a teenager, I ended up having this encounter with some girls that I had met online, and it wasn't like in person, but we started this phone thing where at this time we'll get on like video calls, and that took it to a whole nother level. And now every night I'm on here pleasing myself to these different girls all the time, and it just would never stop. It became an addiction. Like if I didn't have it, I was irritated, I was frustrated. It don't matter how many times I would go a day, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times a day. It got to the point where I was desperate. I would lie to get girls on the phone. I would cheat to get girls on the phone. I would do manipulation to get girls on the phone just so I can, because it became more intense, because what I was used to was doing it to like videos or to magazines, but to have a human interaction doing it with you became a whole nother story. So I had to try to control it at one point, and it would be times where I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore, and I'll try to fast from it. I'll go 3 days, I'll go 4 days, and next thing you know, I'm right back masturbating to this spirit. And it just got worse and worse and worse over time. So it was this one specific time where I was going home and I was talking to this lady on the phone, and this was a woman that I lied about my age to. She was like 20, 30 years old, and I'm like 14, and the whole time I just wanted her naked pictures. I just wanted to do this stuff on the phone with this lady, and it just started this whole lying journey and all of this stuff like that because of how seductive this spirit was. Now, I want you to understand something about this spirit. I'll just pause on my stories for a second because it gets a lot worse. Is that she teaches you to manipulate for it. It's the reason why men are so good at pulling girls out of their drawers easily, and he will trick you, he will lie to them, and he will do all of these different things. This spirit of seduction will literally teach you how to do it. They will tell you everything you need to hear. They will put images in your mind. They will do everything they can to teach you how to lure someone in. And it's sickening in a way. And I just wanted you guys to understand that, you know, and when you're dealing with this spirit, 9 out of 10, you are a heavy manipulator to get what you want. So you will sit on the bed and cry to your spouse as if something's really bothering you, and the whole time you just really want her sympathy so you can get into bed with her. And men will go through this because that spirit of seduction and that lust is so strong, and it teaches you how to do all of these lies and manipulation and all of this sin. So back to the story. Years go by, and I meet my wife, and we met when we was young. You know, it was about 2 weeks after meeting her, we ended up moving in together. And I never met a girl like her before. My wife had like her own issues that she was dealing with a lot, but I had my own issues. But you know, we was perfect for one another. It was just perfect, and I could tell like that was a match made by God. And you know, she's this amazing woman today. But I'm sorry. What that spirit made me do to my wife, I can't even fathom, or I can't even explain it in detail. It is it's humbling to even talk about because of the perversion that this spirit made me do. Just the conversations I would talk to her about was just sickening, just so I can get off to. All the times where I remember she'd be on her way to work and I would be at home that day and I would be masturbating, but I would be talking to her about something that's sickening and something that she doesn't want to talk about, just so I can finish what I am doing and just so I can feel pleasure, because it gets to a point where regular pleasure is not enough. And it's kind of like if you do drugs, if you've been smoking the same drugs for 5 years, sometimes you get numb to it and you have to go higher or smoke even more of that drug. So it destroyed my marriage. And I opened so many doors to demons, and I'm gonna get into a lot of those later on, but there's so many doors to darkness, so many doors to demons. Especially when I met my wife, it got worse. Because now I can do it in person with her, in physicalness. It's not always over the phone. I created, you know, God gave me this broken young girl, and he wanted me to be a good steward over her. And at that time, I didn't know how to be. I barely even knew how to pray all the time. But I destroyed my marriage by this spirit. And this is why I attack it so strongly. This is why I come at that spirit so strong, because the things that I put my wife through because of that spirit, I don't want anyone ever to have to go through that in their marriage. And I know you're probably thinking, like, what did he put her through? So I'm gonna give you a couple examples since I'm exposing everything. There'll be times where this spirit will give me these orgy things, this mindset. And so I would talk my wife into like, oh, we're going to have a threesome because it'll be amazing. And once again, it's a manipulator, and it teaches you exactly how to manipulate. So I knew how to get my wife on my side with this. And so I talked her into doing, taking photos of herself. I talked her into doing orgies. I talked her into, well, we only did like certain things. Most of it was a lot of communications of stuff about orgies, and we was planning on doing it, but we never actually got a chance to do it because it was just all about the story. And if I can make up the story in my mind, that's all I really needed. I didn't need her to do the physical thing all the time, but it was all about the story. I knew my wife had a broken trauma of old men, which you guys can learn all about in her video that she just posted. And so I created this whole scenario and this real life story. I'm like, well, we're gonna go and find old men for you to have sex with. And that's gonna please you in this way. And I get to get pleased by watching you have sex with someone. It'll give me all of these different things and I can join in, and it was just sickening. It was sickening. And so I could feel the flesh of that spirit, and it's just like, yes, make her do it. Make her do it. You want this, you want this. But the love of God will compel me sometimes, and it'll just be like, no, don't you dare allow someone to touch her. And I was battling my spirit in this flesh, and I'm battling like, oh, but it will feel so amazing if we bring in another girl into our marriage. And so we end up bringing another girl into our marriage. And so we talked about other women all the time, and we created women, and it was just because I knew her flesh. I knew the demons that was inside of her, and we just fed each other's demons. She would feed mine, I would feed hers. But she didn't deserve any of that at that time. And you know, every day I have to sometimes sit down and just look at her and apologize for how dark I led my wife because of this spirit. And I don't put all the blame on anything. I take accountability as a man and say, it was me. You know, I let this spirit convince me of this. I led you into, you know, deeper destruction because of me. And so with deliverance, it was hard at first because I had to learn to first forgive myself. I couldn't. Over the years, after all the damage I have done to her, making her feel like she is just worth nothing, you know, but sex all the time. I would bribe her for sex. That's why I'm against that as well. Oh, well, I'll give you $500 if you let me exploit your body for 4 hours. And I knew my wife had a shopping addiction. So I would give her this large amount of money, let her go shopping if she let me do this. And just the bribing, the lying to her and convincing her that this was all okay. And because at this time when my wife was young, she had a naive spirit. And so she just believed everything that I would tell her was okay. But I loved her more than anything. And it hits me hard with this spirit because when I start to battle this spirit, I think of her. Any time where that spirit will try to come in, I think of her. And I think about what I put her through. And, you know, it's heartbreaking. And I'm trying to hold back my emotions right now because it's difficult. because she have been there for me and when nobody else was. I lost my mother and nobody else was there for me but her. And how could I treat somebody that I love so much so badly? But that is the power of that spirit. And the road that it kept leading us to go down until Christ stopped it was crazy. And as I was going through deliverance about this, and I was talking to Jesus, and he gave me this vision of my wife on the floor, which she will share more of in a later video testimony or deliverance. And it was her first time, and it was someone using her. And so her whole life she was being used. And he pretty much told me, you better never put her on that floor. And what he meant by that is, you better never use her for your own personal flesh. When you come together, you better come together in my spirit. But don't you dare ever put her back on that floor. Don't make her do anything disgusting, foul, vulgar, unpleasing to my sight. And I knew that he wasn't just saying that to warn me in a way. He was serious. And so when he said that, and I saw her emotion, and we both was crying at that moment as we we're going through deliverance together. And he just kept showing me the filth. And it got to the point where I couldn't even look in myself in the mirror because of the filth that this spirit kept bringing on to our marriage. You know, it led me through the years, but once I got married to her, once me and her connected, the filth grew times 10. So what I'm telling you guys is, if you have an addiction to porn, if you have an addiction to ejaculating, or if you have an addiction to just finishing all the time, check yourself. Pray to Jesus Christ and ask him, could this be a spirit of seduction over my life? You will hear the spirit. There's this one time, it was me and my wife, and we went through deliverance, and we're working out, trying to get this spirit out, right? We need this spirit to go. And I remember my wife was like, well, I'm gonna do something special for you. So she put on this certain music and she danced for me, and we ended up going into this whole, this thing which married couples do. And it was just a beautiful scenery. So it was amazing. It was this beautiful scenery. And once the next day came, God started to reveal to us that something you did was in the spirit of seduction. And I didn't understand at that time, like, wait, what? Me and her just connected. And he was saying, something you did pleased the spirit of seduction in your flesh, because she's connected to your flesh. She gave you her flesh. So when you please your flesh, in a way you please in his spirit. So I asked God, I'm like, I didn't masturbate, I didn't watch porn, all this stuff. What did I do this time? How did I please the spirit? And look at what your wife was wearing. Do you think that was made for the Christian woman? And this is why me and my wife is so heavy with modesty. If you realize how she dressed and how she, her appearance, it's because the spirit of seduction makes clothing. She can't bring those clothing in her household. And this may not be for every household, but for our household, since I was dealing with this spirit since I was 7 years old, she can't bring those filthy clothes into the household. She can't wear the spirit of seduction's clothing, because it seduces my flesh instead of seducing my spirit. I should come together with my wife in love instead of coming to her with just licking my lips to her all the time. I'm not saying you can't be adorned to your wife's beauty, but we all know that the type of clothing that looks seductively. And so it was also the music. And God was revealing to me thousands of women have failed because of this music. This is not the music of love. This is not the music of married couples that should listen to. This is the music of seduction. It is made to make you horny so you can just go and sleep with anyone. This is made for a purpose. Like gospel music is made to glorify God. Rap music is made to glorify the streets. And this seductive music is made to glorify sex. And so we was playing that music. She was dressed in that way. So we said, we're going to get rid of those clothing. We're going to get rid of the music. And the Spirit looked like and spoke to my wife and said, you will never please him the way that I do. And my wife heard this Spirit and she's like, what is going on? And so she came out and physically spoke it to my wife. You will never please him the way that I do. So I had to understand what was going on in this moment. Like, oh my goodness, this Spirit is fighting. She doesn't want to leave. She's been there since I was a child and she don't want to leave. And so my wife had to get rid of everything seductively. And I felt bad because I knew that it wasn't just because of her. I knew that it was also because of me and because of my history, my past, that I had to get rid of all of this stuff in our household. We couldn't have seductive hair, seductive, all of these things. And for other reasons as well, not just for seduction, but my wife explains a lot about why she's very modest, and go watch her video on that as well. But we had to get rid of everything that was connected to that Spirit. And so if you're going through deliverance, and if you hold even the smallest little pin in your wall, it can be a little thumbtack in your wall, when you're trying to repaint an entire wall. Let's say this wall behind me, I was going to repaint it. If you got the smallest little thumbtack in there, it will mess up the paint. It will mess up the wall. It won't get cleaned. It won't get redone. So we had to remove everything. I had to repent for every detail, every dark thing that this Spirit have led me to do. I had to get rid of everything connected to this Spirit in order to be free. So now when I look at women, I can feel sad for them. I don't feel like I need to go and masturbate. I don't get aroused when I look at other women. I don't get the pleasure from looking at other women. I actually feel sad for them because I know that they are nothing but soul winners for the devil. Whether they know it or not, I know that whenever these women are dressing provocatively on purpose, they're soul winners for this Spirit. They're wearing what this Spirit offers. And there's so many different people that have testimonies about dealing with this spirit of seduction or a succubus spirit and all these different type of things. And if I can leave you guys on one note, is don't play with what this Spirit offers. Don't use her stuff. Don't use the toys. Don't use the clothing. Don't use the magazines. Don't use the Twitter sites. Don't use her stuff. She makes stuff to enhance and to glorify sex. She wants you to worship the pleasure instead of worshiping the Father. Don't glorify it. Don't do it, because I'm telling you, the things that I put my wife through because of the Spirit. This one time I argued with her for a week straight about our sex life. And then I would look around the room and I would see like all of these different things that we would use for our sex. And I'm like, why am I sitting here thinking that we don't have sex enough when it's almost every other day or every day? And I'm never satisfied. So that is why I argue with her, because I was never satisfied. It's like eating candy all day and you mad because you're hungry. It's not satisfying to you. But if you learn to connect with her in the Spirit, yes, sexually, in love, it will satisfy you. It will satisfy all of your needs. It will change. We talked a lot about how intimacy can save your marriage. But the problem is that we're not doing intimacy the right way. We're connecting still in seduction, and we're using this filth to try to make up to be something clean. So I hope that this story hits the right person. And I know a lot of people can testify to something similar to this, but all I just want you guys to understand is that the spirit of seduction is an unclean spirit. And I had multiple dreams. Oh, I want to leave you with this dream. There was a house in the middle of nowhere, like a cabin. I think I was living there in this dream, and I was walking into this cabin and I saw the spirit of seduction. beautiful woman just laying there, and she's like transparent like a mist. And I could feel her presence was just pulling me into sexualness. But she looked sick, or like she needed help to get out of the bed. So she looked like she was a helpless victim. And so it was kind of like a siren. If you ever heard of the siren's cry, that's kind of what the spirit of seduction is, like a marine spirit. So I heard this, her noise, and I went and got help from some people that was around my yard, and they come in and they got immediately start taking off their clothes and start kissing each other. And then they couldn't stop making love to each other. I had to pull them out the room because the power of that spirit was just over them so heavy. And so I was like, I gotta get this woman out of my house. So I called the police in the dream, and the police comes in the dream, and it was like 2 or 3 police officers, and they start taking off their clothes, making love to each other. So I had to pull them out of the room because they wouldn't stop. I was like, stop, no, don't do this. And no matter what I would do, everyone that I kept bringing in contact with this spirit was just kept making love with each other, men, women with women, and her presence was just growing bigger and bigger. So it was like, I can't pull the people back far enough now. So because it was just covering the whole house that we was in. And so what I'm here to tell you guys today is that that spirit have grown everywhere. And it's so perverted, it's so dark, and it loves that hidden flesh pleasure. It will wake you up at 3 a.m. and say, hey, it's time. It will make you'll be walking facing forward, and there'll be a woman over here. And if that woman is wearing something that spirit have made, it will immediately draw your eyes to that woman. And also what it would do with that woman, unknowingly, she will start making gestures for you. Because if you're going to wear what she's making, most of the time she's inside of you. So there's been so many times I was walking and I realized like that dress that this woman is wearing is made by the spirit of seduction. And the woman will start grouping her breasts in front of me. She'll start pulling up her pants in front of me, unaware that there's, this man here, I'm walking with my child, but they will start doing these sexual things in front of me to lure my attention. So I'm just here to tell you guys today, be aware to the spirit of seduction. And if you need help with deliverance, subscribe to this channel, leave us a comment down below. We have an email as well, because I expose a lot about this spirit.